is Tomas Krasinski, and I wish you a beautiful day from the Unimax workshop. Recently, I answered a question about what I will be making in the near future. I ran into some trouble because apparently, no one is going to make something that you can buy for 350 CZK. Well, I looked for it. What can I say? It makes sense that objects produced industrially in large series are, with exceptions, cheaper than handmade products. But that can be said, of course, and with this approach we would therefore do nothing but consume and wait for death. We, before birth, tend to view forging through the prism of socialist shortages of goods, i.e. the necessity to produce things that central planning has forgotten about. However, in a market economy, supply usually exceeds demand, so DIY is not a necessity, but rather a hobby. Well, every hobby costs something. Unlike many other hobbies, this one provides satisfaction not just for ourselves, but it often brings joy to someone else as well, like when we make or fix something. www.heretikralov.org. But back to the question. I will be making a step stool, or if you prefer, a stool that the most well-known furniture store sells for 350 CZK. So this is the cheaper version made from raw birch. The lacquered version made from aspen would cost 500 CZK, which is the same price that the model made from hardwood used to cost a few years ago. Today, under the layer of varnish, I can't tell exactly what kind of wood it is. But just by the weight, it is clear that it is not aspen or birch, which, according to information on the website, weigh from 3 to 4 kilograms. However, it also withstood being outdoors, like the steps of a trampoline, which at that time still had no protective varnish. While a large manufacturer or trader has a logical desire to save, we will definitely not save on ourselves. We will make a similar stool from oak. We don't have to deal with compactness during transportation and sales, so we won't compromise on detachable joints, and we won't use a single piece of steel. I want to remind you that we're not making the stool to save money, but for the joy of it. At the same time, I doubt that people would make something exactly according to instructions, plans, or videos. It's more of an opportunity to pick up some techniques or ideas that might come in handy for another project. Enough with the philosophy, let's get to work. For the stool, you need some beams with a cross-section of 30 by 40 millimeters, but I made mine a bit thicker. I made the frame from them. The slats for the steps can be thinner. The original is about 25 millimeters, which is an inch, or if you prefer, a cowl. I cut the beams from some old planks that had already seen better days, but for these purposes, they turned out to be a source of quality and inexpensive material. If, like me, you're working with some older lumber, you'll need a jointer and a thickness planer, commonly known as a haplavka and a planer. I always started from one of the edges that I squared up, and then I cut the beams to a width of 42 millimeters. I planed semi-finished pieces to final dimensions. To ensure the best possible surface quality, I had my knives sharpened. It cost me 180 CZK, and the result is definitely worth it. A tool that uses a magnet and fine adjustments helped me set the blades, keeping the edge parallel to the cylinder. No vertical part is plumbed. With the pad, it forms an angle of 5 degrees in both axes. This cut increases the stability of the stool. Cross cuts at an angle are easiest to make on a miter saw. Both the miter and the bevel need to be set to 5 degrees. course, this also works on a machine saw, where we set the inclination, blades and angle guide at an angle of 5 degrees. This is how all machines are cut. The sub-level rungs are simply beveled at the ends, but the upper edge must be planed at an angle of 5 degrees so that the adjacent parts fit together, but also so that the frame is glued together to create a flat surface for the scales to fly. The original is cheated in this regard because the scales are screwed in, so the contact surface doesn't matter that much. I connected the individual parts of the frame using pins and glue. For doweling, I used a very simple fixture that ensures the fitting of the connected parts. The 4-category glue allows for the use of the stairs in damp conditions and even outdoors. When gluing, I use silicone jigs from Rockler, which Unimax has recently added to their lineup. Removing dried glue from a non-stick mat or from the brush is a piece of cake. First, the side frames are glued together. Then, they are connected to each other with the crossbars. After the glue dried, I rounded all the parts using a router. And finally, I sanded the frame. Alright, let's get to the treads. I glued together a jointer from the remaining scraps. Due to the small dimensions, I used screw clamps. When I glue larger laminated boards in a future project, I'll be happy to introduce you to the special clamps for laminated boards directly from Unimax's production. I ran the laminated boards to a thickness planer and trimmed them to their final dimensions. I made cutouts in the smaller tread. A bandsaw is ideal for this, but a jigsaw, string saw, or circular saw can also be used. And of course, the classic handsaw. It's best to cut at a 5-degree angle again so that everything fits together perfectly. I rounded the edges again with the router. I also used it to create the hole in the top tread. I came across a template that I had made in the past. Using a copying strip and a spiral cutter, I can easily cut the same holes for a comfortable grip, whether in different boxes or in workshop fixtures. And now it's time for the final sanding again. For connecting the top tread to the frame, I also chose dowel, but not so much for strength, more for positioning during the gluing process. The lower tread is defined naturally thanks to the cutouts. The treads are basically done. It is up to you whether and how you treat the wood. Indoors, it can remain completely natural, but even there I would recommend at least some oil or wax. And when it comes to production, I suggest thinking a bit economically, because once you have the machine set up, it pays off to go ahead and cut the material for another stool right away. In the description below the video, you'll find links to the products I used during the production. I believe the treads will bring joy in 2 ways, during production and while using it. So let it serve you, or someone else. Wishing you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you in the next project from the Unimax workshop. Yeah, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.